Good morning to Justin. How are you this morning, Justin?
I'm exceedingly well, Terry.
I'm sorry, you shouldn't be well at all.
Well, I managed to sidestep the pitfalls that you set up for me this morning.
I can't understand what that is. What would that be about?
Dear listeners, it would appear that Terry is a bit of a practical joker. I arrived in the studio to two chairs in the guest spot, and the one I was supposed to sit in was a broken chair.
It was relegated to the toilet area of KCR.
Ah, the kind of place that you like to frequent, hanging around toilets, Terry.
Good morning, Justin.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
I tell you what, I can dine out on that joke for ages. I can elaborate too on it. It's far more interesting.
And
I can tell Paul when he's very busy, he'll be flat out in a couple of weeks' time. I can see it. He'll be distraught, he'll be running around, people want, and I'll say, look, I've got a good joke for you.
I've got a good joke for you.
I'll tell you what happened. You know, can you believe what happened? He went through on the ground.
Straight through the chair onto the floor.
And he says, I don't want to hear it.
Listeners, we should be a little more polite and welcome our guest today, Mr. Paul Markham. How are you, Paul?
I'm very good, thank you. Happy to be here.
How's the chair? Comfortable?
This chair is very comfortable.
Very solid?
Got a solid base. I did make sure.
Yes, well, I did word you up as well. So.
I think he's been here before.
He has been here before, and of course, listeners, Paul is joining us again because, well, it's tomorrow fortnight will be the Shannon's Classic Car Show at Ascot, of which Paul is essentially sort of car show supremo. And for those who used to love Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister, that relates to car show muggins. You're the guy that's responsible for pretty much putting it all together.
Doing all the work, you mean?
Yes, that's it.
He always says that this is the last year.
Yes,
the last year. I said that last year too, didn't I?
And the year before that.
And the year before that as well.
But obviously the motor or automobile loving public much appreciate the efforts that you go to, because it really is, there's a couple of great display days during the Perth calendar year, and one of them, without a doubt, is the Classic Car Show at Ascot.
Yes, we're looking forward to a really good show this year again. Again, we were really lucky last year. We had our car show, I think it was the 18th of March. Remember the 18th of March?
Very close. I think it was the 18th month. Yep.
Yeah, it was early in the month, and the very next weekend we were lucky because on the weekend before the show it was thunderstorms, unseasonable thunderstorms.
Highly.
I was waiting.
I thought the thunderstorms were only in the committee room.
The committee room is basically just me, so
and a big mirror.
And a big mirror. Yeah. Deal with that guy. And then the next weekend we had the show. It was really good weather, and the very next week everything got shut down.
Well, that's it. The thunderstorms were the portent of things to come, and what 2020 ended up looking like.
Yeah, so 2020 was a bit of a down year, let's just say.
It was indeed.
So there's a lot of eagerness to get back into a good display this year. So
most certainly,
all looking good.
We're getting a lot of feedback from the listeners, a great deal of enthusiasm, and clubs obviously getting organised and making sure that they're registered.
Yes, register.
So
if you're your club, if you're a club member listening, check with your club and make sure that you're registered. We do have to have everybody registered.
On try bookings?
Yes, try bookings.
That's when I went that way.
Yeah,
and that pretty much relates not just to the organisation of the day, but it is a sort of a COVID-safe requirement for the organisers.
Yeah, we have to have everybody registered that are going to be attending there, which is one of the reasons we're pushing that.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do. Get online. If you're having trouble, speak to people in your club. Your show organiser should be able to help people navigate the vagaries of the internet experience. But it's coming along well, actually, and I'm remarkably unstressed at the 2 weeks out.
We can change that. We can fix that. Can I ask you something, Paul?
Yes.
Just a casual observation, Paul. Do you wear that just to come up to KCR, that shirt, a very nice shirt it is, and then you put it away for the next time you come up for a KCR, or does it get aired in other venues?
It gets aired publicly all of the time.
Does it?
Yes.
Does it?
I'm required by statute of my wife to wear distinctive shirts. It's a Hawaiian shirt, listeners. It's a Hawaiian shirt
with a beautiful palm motif.
Yes.
Can I say, Terry, that although you think this is the shirt that Paul wore here last time, it isn't. because the last one you wore also had a palm motif, but different colours.
Oh,
and I
yes.
remember because they're burnt into the back of my retina. But
I thought there was only one Hawaiian shirt person walking around. I thought it was the only shirt he had.
No,
But obviously
no,
he's got
it's
other
a
shirts.
very, very popular look, I will say.
if there is one person...
It might get into fashion one day. But remember, you never know. You're lucky in a big city.
If there's one person wearing Hawaiian shirts, it's Paul, and he has the entire wardrobe. So
The funny thing was, actually, because
But there is a fun
when we were in Hawaii...
I never guessed. Never
was
guessed.
that 2019, and my wife commented that at least she couldn't see me. Because at least when we're here, I always got a Hawaiian shirt on, so she says, I can always see you in a crowd.
Is that the rationale, Paul? She can't lose you.
You can't lose me. Whereas when we went to Hawaii, everybody wears Hawaiian shirts.
Well, of course,
I
it's
just
Hawaii.
disappeared into the crowd. She couldn't keep her eye on me.
No, but she kept her eye on a few of the others on the outside on the board.
Well, no,
And
Terry.
They didn't have your name to it.
No, Terry, I have to say that the Hawaiian shirt thing works for Mrs. M because I hope you don't mind me saying this, but just over a week ago, the Markhams celebrated their 28th wedding anniversary. So
28.
I would have thought she would have tried to have lost you in 28 years, but clearly the shirts are working.
In the photo you would have seen, we were at a tiki bar.
You were at a tiki bar.
enjoying cocktails, and I was completely
What are you
Clad.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You must have been in paradise.
paradise. Well,
Paradise.
that's a little tiki paradise. down in
Hawaiian heaven.
Actually, one of my cycling friends, she's called Kanani, and she is Hawaiian, and she cycles on a Wednesday. Anyhow, I'm getting the wind up because we should be not the wind up, but we told let's have a.
You're winding us up, yeah.
Winding us up. Yeah, that's what it is. Let's do
It's always a wind up,
Let's do
Paul.
this one now. Here we go.
Of course, it was lovely to have Max on the show last week, and he
It
did a
was.
fabulous Formula
We'll
One
have him back
report.
again.
We
We'll have
will.
him back
We
again.
most certainly will. And just to wrap up, obviously, that fixture from Bahrain, it honestly, the lineup, the podium, looked pretty much like a report I gave when I first started doing the show. No surprises. First place, Mr. Hamilton,
again.
then Verstappen,
Yeah.
then Bottas. And I think my very first Formula One, I said, Daniel from Duncraig in 7th. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Daniel from Duncraig came 7th.
Can you make him up the ladder a bit more so he can have a bit more incentive?
I have no doubt that as time progresses,
first race.
the young man will do very, very well indeed, and we all have great hopes for him.
So what have you got in place next time?
What have I got in
Unless you
place
put a
next
jinx
time?
on Daniel from Duncraig.
Well, I haven't. Maybe I need to give him another name.
Oh, right.
You know, Daniel from Duncraig. Like, it's not designed to be disparaging.
No.
It's just I know he grew up in South Duncraig, so yeah, we'll have a think about that. But we
Duncraig Primary School, was it?
would have been Pointer Primary, I think, which just runs off Pointer Drive in South Duncraig. Although he may know, he's I think a good Catholic boy, nice Italian name. Probably went to a private school. Anyway, moving on from Formula One.
Moving along for a lot of things.
Moving on from a lot of things.
And Paul's Hawaiian shirt.
Hawaiian
I'm
shirts.
going to wear my shades next time, Paul. Would that be
That's
right?
good, yeah,
Come in with wearing shades. And
Is your future that bright, Terry?
I've got a Hawaiian shirt. When you come again, I tell you what, I won't wear it. I won't wear it to upset you on a couple of weeks' time. I don't upstage you there, but I might wear a Hawaiian shirt when you come in next
Well,
time.
can I suggest?
I've got one for fancy dress. Also, when I wear for best.
Can I suggest that perhaps the next time the three of us are together in the studio, I too have a palm motif
Dear,
shirt.
right,
So
dear.
perhaps we
Dear.
could blind one another with the
Why not just embrace the aloha,
the
embrace
aloha lifestyle.
Yes.
You just want to get laid, don't you? Yeah. Moving on from Formula One, obviously no real.
Back to Hawaii.
God's sake. Obviously not much to report in terms of the Repco Supercar Series, although, as a reminder, the next fixture is set for the 10th and 11th of April, being next weekend, and that's Simmons Plains for the Bow Repairs Tasmania Super Sprint. So for those lovers of V8 supercars, that'll be what we're into next weekend.
Can I just throw something in there?
Please
Has
do, Paul.
anybody watched the Formula One Drive to Survive on Netflix?
I don't believe I have.
It's a really, really, really good. Because I'm not a big Formula One person.
No.
I don't really find it that interesting. But my wife and I started watching that series. It's 3 series. I think it starts with the 2017 Formula One, when Ricciardo won at Monte Carlo, and it follows each of the teams. And it is a really well done series. It's
Now, when you
very, very
say
good.
Drive to Survive, does it deal with the risk
Oh,
involved in
yeah, it's basically just a documentary film crew following
each of the seasons?
and it talks with each of the drivers, and you get a bit
Oh,
of
okay.
insight into them and the ups and downs of the Formula One world. And it is the stuff going on in the background is really, really interesting.
It's a highly political
Can I
environment.
just say this, talk about Daniel from Duncraig.
Yes.
My son's in Dubai. He's listening actually on the internet now as we
Is
talk. Simon in Dubai.
Hello,
He's
Simon.
got a Triumph Stag in Dubai, the only one the only one that's operating daily on the UAE.
I would
And he
suggest
said
it has
that
an excellent cooling system.
we should say Daniel from Okay, so I'm good to hear from you. Anyhow, there you go. Except worldwide.
Good show. Good show.
Daniel from
International
Duncraig.
appeal.
As against those shirts that you wear. Oh, I mean,
There's no stopping him, is there, Paul?
It's just hammering that same nail.
Yeah,
Bang,
pretty
bang,
much.
bang.
That's it. Same. It's like a 50s radio, isn't it? Same old peddling away. It's just,
Oh, that's new. Hang on, let's uprating it. I'll put those 78s back on again. That'll fix it. Oh, hang on. I've got to do something else here.
I think you probably should,
Oh,
Terry.
okay, let's do this. Oh, we've got Don. Oh, yes, I know. Here we go. Ken, here we go.
We'll have Ken. So, of course, Paul's here to talk about the classic car show at Ascot, but we
And
should
Hawaiian shirts.
and Hawaiian shirts and broken chairs, as it turns out. But we should also
Obviously, we
make.
haven't upset Paul because he's still talking about it.
Well, yeah, and I mean he's been
Paul
here.
with shirts, one.
He's been here twice with the both of us, and once or twice before that, I think.
yes.
Paul.
Yeah, a few times.
So you're either an idiot,
Sucker for punishment.
glutton for punishment, or you quite like being here.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's just to
It's number
expose
2.
Terry to your magnificent. It's number 2 to expose Terry to your magnificent selection of palm-related shirts.
Well, next time I come, I will wear something brighter than this because this
You mean
is
you have
this
another one?
Look, this is very, very.
It is very
very
subdued.
sedate. Yeah.
Well, that's why Terry was saying he'll be wearing his shades. He'll need to counteract the brilliance of your Hawaiian shirt.
Okay.
So look,
Carry on.
talking about
Paul's here to talk about something, I'm sure.
He is,
Right.
but
What
I'm
is it?
trying to get
What
to
it
it.
is?
I'm trying to get to it through coming events. So Terry,
I'm all
shut
ears.
up.
I'm all ears.
Thanks, mate.
I'm all ears.
Obviously, April's quite a big month, and the weekend of Saturday the 10th and Sunday the 11th is the Northam Motorsport Festival, and that includes the Mount Omni Hill climb on Saturday, and of course the classic Flying 50 street circuit on the Sunday, and that's a real festival of activity in Northam across that weekend. And whether you can be there for both events or just turn up for a couple of hours, it's well worth the trip, and it's a great drive out to Northam as well. So that's coming up.
So the
next,
11th?
That is the 10th and 11th.
10th and
That's
11th.
so next weekend, a full weekend, and then of course after that, Sunday the 18th, we should have had some sort of fanfare sound effect, I think. There you go, very good. Of course, the Shannon's 2021 Classic Car Show, which is organised by Paul and the CMC of WA, mostly by Paul, at the Ascot Racecourse. And that's open to the public from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. So any other detail, obviously we're running a promo and have been for several weeks on air, but Paul, from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Steady.
I didn't.
We've upset him enough as it is, let alone he'll put his teeth back in. He will do that.
I'm not referring to Paul as a horse. Wilbur, come into the room. Paul.
Yes.
What's that song? A horse, of course. A horse,
A horse is a horse, of course. Yeah, it was the theme tune to Mr. Ed. Yes.
I'm a Mr. Ed. I've got that.
I'm sure you do, and I'm sure that if you put it on the turntable, Terry,
no,
we'd end up with a theme tune to Cop Shop.
Missed Ed.
There you are. That's
I've got Missed Ed, but not on. I've got Missed Ed.
that's me. That's me
Howdy.
getting
There
you
you
back
go.
for the broken chair this morning. You swine, Paul. So open to the public from 10 till 3.
Yes.
What's the cost for people to come in?
It's $10 per adult, and kids come in for free.
Oh, that's
So
good.
yeah, and there's lots of parking on site, so you don't have to worry about parking.
Excellent.
We also have food and drink vendors there to get something to eat, wander around, enjoy the cars, enjoy the grounds,
Enjoy the grounds, which are
have
beautiful.
something to eat, have something to drink, take lots of photos, tell your friends, and enjoy
And the
the day.
speciality is Australian assembled, Australian built cars.
Australian.
Yeah, the theme this year is Made in Australia. And last year, when Holden made their announcement, just before the last car show, that they were pinning Holden.
Yeah, basically pulling out of
Yep.
Australia completely.
Holden shut down, and that was a bit of a shock, right? So we didn't have enough time to do anything to reflect that as part of a theme. But this year, it's Made in Australia. So, yeah, Holden was the big company for Australian-built cars.
And built
Very
a lot of-
iconic.
And built a lot of other marques as well. Of course.
Yes, yeah. When you look at
We're talking about
Holden's
it, yeah.
previous history before they became just a car builder themselves. So the CMC, we've had a look at the wide variety of cars that were actually made in Australia.
And there are many.
There are many. There
We make the point in the promo, it's not just about Holdens and Fords, of
Yes.
course, which is a big chunk, but there are
Yes.
so many other vehicles made in Australia.
B76s.
Yes, Leyland was a big
Leyland,
one.
big, yep.
But as Terry would know, Vauxhall,
Yes.
and you've got a Vauxhall out here, which was
Yes.
assembled in Western Australia, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, it's
And-
got local provenance. That's
and-
fantastic.
And,
I
the
didn't
pressing
realise.
on it to say P for Perth.
Yeah, we got Ford Model A, which was built at North Fremantle. We're going to have that one in
Oh,
there.
yes, yes.
Yeah, because
What is now the brewing company,
yes,
but
the
used to be the
Matilda
Ford
A.
assembly
Used
plant.
to be the Ford assembly plant. We've
Well, they assembled Zephyrs as well there.
Yes,
Zephyrs,
yeah,
consoles,
so
prefects, whatever, have it
there was
all done down in
a
Fremantle.
really wide variety of
Oh,
things
good.
that were made, and one of the cars that I'm particularly pleased to have here is in the display is a 1938 DKW F7. It's a German car. You know,
Yeah.
I've got DKWs.
You
They're
do?
two-stroke
No, I
motor
do.
cars.
No,
So
I didn't know you had
We
those.
did all the jokes last time you were
I
here.
didn't know
Yes.
I didn't know he had those cars.
Yes,
He's
yeah.
doing around the houses of Northam next week, isn't it? The old DKW.
Well, yes, but 4 days after the event's concluded. But anyway,
Drives very fast. Thank you. It's very fast on the freeway. Just
Moving
not
on.
the hill.
What about
But
Gooseberry
this DKW was built in Perth.
Wow.
So they shipped the bodies over, the chassis and the engine, and they were bodied by Boltons.
Yeah.
In
yeah,
West
JW
Perth.
Bolton.
JW Bolton.
They did also buses. So
They
that was one of the
certainly
main businesses
Certainly did.
was buses. But they also assembled a few other marques as well. And they assembled all the West Australian DKW cars. And there's probably only about 50 or so. But we know of 2 in Western Australia have survived.
Wow.
So we've got one of those coming down. It's got the little badge on it, saying assembled at
Really?
Boltons.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's
so-
interesting.
and again, that's something that many people wouldn't even know.
No,
And then we've got
that'd be a good quiz night question. wouldn't it? I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
well, they, of course they do know now, some of them, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't have thought that. No.
So we've got the Goggamobile Dart, which is really
Yes.
good to have secured
Well,
one
of
of those.
course.
That's
Well,
very
of
iconic.
course.
Not the Dart.
Not the Dart. And it actually
Is the
it is
Dart.
the Dart. Yes.
G-O-G-G-O.
The very commercial.
We've got the Lightburn Zeta. We've got one of
Yes,
those coming down.
Paul did a little rear view mirror for us last week, Paul Blank, and he touched on the Lightburn Zeta, and we did make, of course, washing
Yes.
machine jokes and the like. But
Did-
that's
'cause he used to
fantastic.
own one for
he did.
ages, yes.
He's very passionate,
Yeah.
and surprisingly undamaged by the experience.
Yes. He still does describe it as one of the worst cars, probably
Oh,
the
no.
worst car he ever owned.
But given Paul's car background,
Yes.
that's almost a badge of honour.
Yes,
because
he had it for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Which for a
it's
car that was
remarkable.
terrible.
Do you realise why? He brought it home, parked it in the garage, and couldn't start it for another 2 decades. So. Good morning, Mr. Blank.
And we've got the Bolwell Club coming as
Yeah,
well. And they're
fantastic.
bringing in a bunch of Bolwells, which again, like it's very rare to have many of those. There's a club,
There is.
but they hardly ever, assemble them together.
Yeah.
So they're bringing them out so that we can have a display.
How many Bolwells will be there? 4 or 5?
Yeah, hopefully.
Fantastic.
They've got to be running on the day.
Well, I've never seen more than one in any one place, so it would be really fascinating.
Yeah, it would be good to see more. We've got about 3 lined up at the moment, but they're still, by the day we should have a couple more. Touch wood. We've got Australian assembled singers.
Yes.
We've got standards.
Yeah, Vanguards are all AMC, AMI. AMI.
Well, there'll be
Pontiac Laurentian.
Yes.
Yes, the Laurentian, which was built in Australia.
Yeah.
And then that's just in the part of the special display. Then of course you've got all the other car clubs have got their displays on, and they've put up things for vehicles there.
Most particularly the TSO8, my club will be there on the day, and of course there were many Triumphs that were assembled at
2500s and the 2000s.
AMI. Yeah, absolutely.
On AMI.
And we
Vanguards were assembled AMI.
Yep, and we will have several there on the day.
That's good. Yeah, we can lend you, or we can give you a couple of Australian flags to hang on some of these cars.
By all means.
I think I'll have one before you leave the door. Grab his shirt. He's got a couple of those flags in the shirt.
Well, he's not short of a shirt. So.
Not short of a shirt.
Not short of a shirt. Shirt on this show, I tell you. He won't be invited on another one.
Well, after your performance today, Terry, I don't think you'll be invited back, and it's your show.
So we've got a bit of a write-up that goes along with each of the cars, to explain their context and explain some of the details and things like AMI.
Do I have to give you one about my Vauxhall, by the way, while it matters?
If you want to drop me a line about...
Do you want to drop you a line?
Yeah, drop me a line.
Are you bringing...
on the washing line, you mean?
Terry, no, that's the light bird.
Type some words.
That's the light bird. Terry, are you bringing said Vauxhall on the day?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've already rung him up. I've got the okay.
You got the okay. You've had a papal dispensation.
Special parking spot.
Hang on. I didn't want that sort of okay.
Pope Paul the First.
Pope
Bless you, my son.
Paul, it's been fabulous having you on the show. Thank you so much for coming in again and battling the hill.
And then battling with Terry.
No. After the microphones go off, I'm going to apologise to Mr. Markham on behalf of KCR.
Take him to the VIP suite. He can sit in one of those lovely chairs.
I may even adjust the letters and take him to the VIP suite. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Terry. Have a great Easter, everybody.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you at the show.
Good man.